She knew everything before it happened. Every word, every heartbreak, every goodbye, and she chose it anyway. This is not a film about aliens. This is a film about time, memory, and the terrifying freedom of knowing exactly how your story ends and walking into it with your eyes wide open. Most people miss what this film is actually doing with its structure. Today we fix that. By the time we reach the final frame, you will understand why the first scene you watched is also the last scene, and why that matters more than anything the aliens ever say. Because the aliens aren't the point. They never were. The point is the question this film forces you to answer. If you knew the ending of your own life, every loss, every grief, every moment that would break you, would you still choose to begin? Arrival doesn't just ask that question. It builds an entire universe around it, and the answer will change how you see every movie you watch from now on. This video is an independent, transformative work created for review, criticism, commentary, educational, informational, and entertainment purposes. Any third-party content is used only to support original analysis and is not intended to replace or reproduce the original work. We open on a house, a woman, a window overlooking a lake. The camera moves slowly, deliberately, as if it already knows where it's going. Louise Banks sits alone in a room filled with grief. Her daughter has died. We see flashes of a life cut short, a childhood, a diagnosis, an inevitability. The montage is devastating not because of what it shows, but because of how it's edited. It feels like memory, fragmented, painful, unavoidable. This is the film telling you something without you knowing it yet. Time is not linear here. You are watching the end before you have seen the beginning. Denis Villeneuve is not hiding this from you. He is showing it to you openly, trusting that you will only understand it on the second viewing. And that trust is the most radical thing a director can do. He is building a film that demands to be watched twice, knowing that most audiences will only give him once. The film cuts to the present. 12 alien spacecraft have landed across the globe. No one knows why. No one knows what they want. The world watches the sky with a mixture of awe and terror. Louise, a linguistics professor, is recruited by the military because her expertise is suddenly the most valuable currency on Earth. This is the first moment where the film announces its difference from the genre it inhabits. In any other alien invasion movie, the linguist would be a background detail, the person who translates a threatening message before the guns start firing. But here, the linguist is the protagonist, the one person who can do what the military cannot: listen. And that is a statement. The film is telling you that understanding is more powerful than weapons, that curiosity is more valuable than fear, that the act of translation is itself an act of peace. Louise enters the military camp in Montana alongside physicist Ian Donnelly, played with disarming charm by Jeremy Renner. He is the science to her language, the rational counterpart to her intuition. On the surface, this is a classic pairing, the logician and the humanist, working together to solve an impossible puzzle. But beneath that surface, something more interesting is happening. Ian believes in objectivity. Louise believes in meaning. And the film is going to prove that one of these beliefs is fundamentally wrong. Ian explains the science of time, the nature of the universe, the limits of what humans can perceive. Louise listens, but she is already beginning to suspect that the limits Ian describes are not limits of the universe. They are limits of language. And language, she understands, can be rewired. She climbs into the alien craft. The spacecraft is a monolith, black, silent, defying gravity. Inside, gravity bends backwards. The walls are invisible. The architecture of the vessel does not follow the rules of human physics. This is the first clue that the aliens do not think the way humans think. Their world is not our world. Their time is not our time. The heptapods emerge. They are enormous, seven-limbed creatures with no identifiable face. They do not speak in sounds. They communicate through ink, circular symbols that spiral outward from their bodies like language made visible. Louise begins the slow, painstaking work of translation. She presents words. They present symbols back. She learns that their names are Abbott and Costello, a joke that the screenwriter inserted as a reminder that this film, for all its philosophical weight, never forgets to be human. Abbott and Costello, two alien beings who have crossed the galaxy to speak to a species that still uses comedy to name the things it fears. The first breakthrough comes when Louise points at herself and says human. The heptapod produces a symbol, not a word. A symbol, circular, intricate, complete. It does not break down into smaller parts the way human language does. It is a single thought expressed as a single image. This is the moment everything changes. Louise is no longer just learning a new language. She is learning an entirely new way of thinking, a new way of being. And the film is about to show you what happens when that way of thinking rewires a human brain. The montage of translation is not just exposition. It is transformation. Every symbol Louise learns begins to alter how she perceives time. She sees fragments of her daughter's life, moments that have not happened yet. A child's laughter, a diagnosis, a hospital room. She does not understand why she is seeing these these things. The film does not explain it. Not yet. It trusts you to hold the question and wait for the answer. This is emotional engineering at its most sophisticated. Villeneuve is planting the seeds of grief now, so that when the harvest comes at the end, you will feel it as deeply as Louise does. The score by Johann Johansson underlines every moment with a sense of inevitability. It is not ominous. It is not hopeful. It is simply inevitable. The music tells you that something has already been decided, that the ending was always written, and that all you can do now is watch it unfold. The world outside the camp is fracturing. Nations are turning on each other. China is mobilizing. Russia is threatening. The United States is losing control of the narrative. 12 ships, 12 governments, 12 competing interpretations. This is not a subplot. This is the central tension of the film. The aliens did not come to destroy humanity. They came to unite it. But humanity is too busy being afraid to notice. General Chiang of China has interpreted the aliens' symbols as a declaration of war. He is preparing to attack. The clock is ticking. And Louise, who has spent weeks inside the ship learning to see time differently, is the only person who understands that the attack is based on a misunderstanding. The aliens do not threaten. They offer. But the offer cannot be received by a species that refuses to listen. The psychological depth of this moment is staggering. Louise is carrying the weight of the entire species on her shoulders. She knows what the aliens have given her. She knows what it will cost her. And she has not yet told anyone that she is seeing the future. Because to say it would be to admit that the future exists, that time is not what we think it is, and that everything she has believed about free will might be an illusion. This is where most films would give the protagonist an easy way out. A plan. A solution. Arrival does not. It forces Louise to sit with the knowledge that the answer is inside her, that she has always had it, and that using it means accepting the consequences she has already seen. She looks at Ian. She looks at the ship. She looks at the flashes of her daughter's life. She knows, and she is terrified. The tension escalates. The military wants answers. The world wants answers. And Louise is beginning to realize that the answers cannot be delivered in a briefing room. The heptapods did not come to give humanity information. They came to give humanity a new way of thinking. But that gift comes with a condition: the willingness to unlearn everything you know. This is where Arrival departs from every other alien contact film. It is not a story about learning to communicate. It is a story about learning to become someone else through communication. That is the fundamental difference. Louise is not just acquiring vocabulary. She is acquiring a consciousness. And the film is committed to showing you that transformation in real time, frame by frame, symbol by symbol. There is a moment where she looks at the heptapod symbol for weapon and realizes it is also the symbol for tool. The language does not distinguish between threat and benefit. It only distinguishes between use and non-use. This is a philosophical bomb planted in the middle of the film. What does it mean when your language cannot express the difference between a weapon and a tool? It means you cannot conceive of violence as separate from creation. It means your entire worldview is built on a premise that human beings cannot access. And it means that Louise, by learning the heptapod language, is beginning to access a mind that sees conflict as a failure of communication rather than a failure of force. This is not pacifism. This is a fundamental restructuring of reality. The heptapods do not believe in war because they do not believe in separation. Everything is connected. Every action is part of a single, unified pattern. And once you see that pattern, you cannot unsee it. You cannot pretend that your individual choices exist in isolation. Every decision ripples forward and backward through time. Every word you speak changes the shape of everything that has ever been said. This is the core insight of the film, and it is terrifying. The military does not understand this. Colonel Weber wants a translation. He wants a sentence. He wants the aliens to say, "We come in peace," so the world can exhale and the generals can feel like they have done their jobs. But Louise tells him the truth. We cannot translate the heptapod language into linear human terms. It does not work that way. A symbol is not a sentence. It is a thought, complete and indivisible. To translate it is to destroy it. This is the moment Louise becomes a figure of profound isolation. She is standing between two species, trying to explain that the very nature of reality is different for each of them, and neither side is willing to listen. Ian tries to help. He suggests that the heptapods might perceive time differently, that they might see past, present, and future all at once. It is a casual suggestion from a physicist, but for Louise, it is the key. She looks at him with a recognition that is almost painful. The film cuts to the scene where Louise begins to dream. But they are not dreams. They are memories of the future. She sees her daughter Hannah, a name that means grace. She sees her laugh. She sees her run. She sees her fight. She sees her die. And the film shows you these moments without explanation because it trusts your intelligence. It trusts that you will realize, as Louise is realizing, that the sequence is wrong. The daughter is alive in a time that has not arrived. The grief Louise is carrying is grief for something that has not yet happened. happened, and the film does not flinch from that paradox. It embraces it. This is where Villeneuve's mastery becomes undeniable. He could have signposted the twist. He could have inserted a line of dialogue that said, "She is seeing the future." Instead, he lets you feel your way into it. He lets you experience the disorientation of being Louise. He makes you complicit in her confusion, and when the clarity comes, it is earned. The world is getting closer to war. China has issued an ultimatum. The other nations are following. The heptapods seem to be ignoring the deadline, or maybe they are respecting it in a way humans cannot understand. Louise has one last session with Abbott and Costello. She looks at the symbols they produce. She asks them why they came. Their answer is not a word. It is a question she must answer on her own, because she is the one who has received the gift. She is the one who is changing, and the change is almost complete. She looks at the symbols and understands something that has never been understood by any human being before. The heptapods are not here to teach humanity. They are here to help humanity save itself. But to do that, humanity must first learn to see time as the heptapods do. And Louise is becoming the bridge. She is not the ambassador. She is the vessel. The film's pacing here is extraordinary. What should feel like exposition, what would be exposition in any other film, is compressed into a series of images, glances, and moments of silence. The military is barking orders. The world is screaming for action. And Louise is sitting in a room, looking at symbols, watching her own future unfold behind her eyes. The contrast is deliberate. The louder the world gets, the quieter Louise becomes. The more urgent the crisis, the more still she becomes. This is the film's emotional engineering at work. It is showing you that the answer to chaos is not more chaos. The answer is stillness. The answer is language. The answer is the willingness to sit with something you do not understand until it becomes something you do. Most movies would have given Louise a montage of success. She learns a language. She cracks a code. She saves the world. Arrival does not. It gives her a montage of grief, a montage of loss, because the price of knowledge is not a promotion. It is the weight of knowing what is coming. Ian confronts Louise. He asks her what is wrong. She is distant, distracted, haunted. He wants to help, but he cannot, because she is seeing things he cannot see. She is living in a timeline that does not exist for him. The tragedy of this moment is not that they are separated. It is that they are on the verge of connecting, and the connection will not change anything. Louise knows this. Ian does not, and the film holds that asymmetry like a mirror. We see Ian looking at Louise with love and confusion. We see Louise looking back with something that looks like love, but is actually something more terrifying. Acceptance. She accepts him even though she knows how their story ends. She accepts the child she will lose. She accepts the pain she will carry. She accepts the grief that is already beginning to shape her future self. And the film asks you to sit with that acceptance and decide what it means for you. The military decides to pull the plug. The heptapods are too dangerous. The time for translation is over. The time for action has begun. Louise looks at the ship and knows that her last session was not a session. It was a farewell. Abbott and Costello have given her everything they have. Now she must use it, but she does not know how. She is standing at the edge of knowledge, looking at a door that has not yet opened. And the film holds that moment for a beat too long. Long enough for you to feel the weight of it. Long enough for you to wonder whether the ending is going to be the one you expect. Because Arrival is not a film about aliens saving humanity. It is a film about language saving humanity from itself. And that is a much harder story to tell. Louise stands at the window of her temporary quarters, looking out at the alien ship suspended against the Montana sky. There is a stillness in her that has not been there before. The military officers pacing behind her, the constant buzz of radio chatter, the distant rumble of armored vehicles. All of it sounds like it is coming from another world. Because in a way it is. She is already halfway to where the heptapods live. Not in space, not in time, in consciousness. Her brain is rewiring itself with every symbol she processes. Neural pathways that have never been used before are lighting up like city grids at dusk. She does not understand it. She does not need to. The language is doing the work for her. And what it is doing is terrifying and beautiful in equal measure. She knows this because she can feel it. She can feel the future pressing against the present like a hand on the other side of a window. She can feel the weight of choices she has not yet made. She can feel the presence of a daughter who has not yet been born, but who is already dying. This is not intuition. This is not prediction. This is memory. Memory of a future that has already happened. And the strangest part, the part that makes her question everything she has ever believed about free will, is that she is not resisting it. She is not fighting the knowledge. She is simply accepting it. Not because she is passive, not because she is weak, because she understands something that the rest of humanity does not yet understand. Resistance is not the answer. Resistance is the problem. The heptapods did not come to teach humanity how to speak. They came to teach humanity how to stop fighting the shape of time itself. There is a moment late at night when Louise is alone in the observation room. The lights are dim. The screen is dark, and she looks at the symbol that she has come to know as the symbol for time, but it is not a symbol. It is a map of everything that has ever happened and everything that will ever happen. She traces the lines with her finger. She follows the spiral inward, and she realizes that the spiral is not infinite. It is finite. It has a beginning and an end, but they are the same point. The beginning is the end. The end is the beginning. She looks at her reflection in the glass. She is younger than the woman she will become, but older than the woman she used to be. Time is folding in on itself inside her mind. She remembers learning the heptapod language as if it happened yesterday, but she also remembers learning it as if it is happening tomorrow. The distinction is gone. Past, present, future, all of it is now. And in that now, she sees Ian walking toward her. She hears him say her name. She sees them together. She sees Hannah. She sees everything. And the film, in this moment, achieves something almost impossible. It makes you feel the simultaneity. It makes you feel what it would be like to live outside the tyranny of sequence. It makes you understand why the heptapods chose to come here. Not to save us, not to warn us, to show us that the thing we fear most, the loss of control, the end of free will, the inevitability of our own endings, is the thing that will finally set us free. The military is running out of patience. The deadline is approaching. China has given its final ultimatum. The other nations are preparing to follow. The heptapods have not responded to the ultimatum. They have not reacted to the threats. They have simply continued to produce their symbols. And Louise realizes that the symbols are not a message. They are a weapon, not a weapon of destruction, a weapon of transformation, a weapon that changes the person who receives it. And she has already been changed. She is no longer the woman who walked into this camp. She is something else, something that is still becoming, something that is still learning to see. And the film holds her in that state of becoming for as long as it can, because that state is the point. The answer is not a translation. The answer is a transformation. And the question is not what the heptapods want. The question is what Louise will become when she finally understands what they have given her. The question is whether she will use it. The question is whether she can bear the cost of knowing. And the question is whether any of us, if we were given the same choice, would have the courage to say yes. The aliens are leaving. The ships are rising. The world is watching them go. And Louise is alone. She is standing in the observation room, watching the vessel ascend into the clouds, and she feels something that is not quite sadness and not quite relief. It is something in between, something that belongs to a time that is still coming. Ian enters the room. He asks her what she saw. She tells him that she understands the heptapod language now. She tells him that she sees the future. And Ian, with his scientist's mind, tries to understand the implications. He asks her why she did not tell him sooner. He asks her what will happen to them. He asks her whether the future is fixed or whether it can be changed. And Louise looks at him with the weight of everything she knows. She knows that the future is fixed. She knows that they will be together. She knows that they will have a daughter. She knows that the daughter will die. She knows that Ian will leave her. She knows all of it. And she still chooses. She chooses him. She chooses Hannah. She chooses the loss. She chooses the grief. She chooses the love that makes the grief possible. And Ian, looking at her, does not understand what he is seeing, but he trusts her. He trusts the woman who learned to speak to aliens. He trusts the woman who saved the world. And he reaches for her hand. She takes it, and the film holds that moment, that simple, devastating moment, because it is the moment when Louise makes her choice. She is not choosing Ian. She is choosing Hannah. She is choosing the child she knows she will lose. She is choosing the pain she knows she will carry. She is choosing the solitude of a house by a lake and a window looking out at a world that cannot see what she sees. She is choosing to know everything and still say yes to all of it. This is the central truth of Arrival. The film is not about aliens. It is not about time travel. It is not about physics or linguistics or military strategy. It is about the courage to love something you know you will lose. It is about the willingness to embrace the tragedy of existence because the existence itself is worth embracing. Louise does not save the world with her intelligence. She saves the world with her heart. She saves the world by being willing to feel everything. She saves the world by refusing to look away from the truth. She saves the world by holding the grief and the joy together at the same time, in the same moment, and refusing to separate them. The final scene comes to us in a blur. It is the montage we saw at the beginning, but now we understand it. Now we know what the movie is showing us. Louise holds her daughter. She watches her learn to walk. She watches her struggle with the disease that will take her. She watches her husband walk away. She watches herself alone in a house by a lake, looking out at a window, knowing everything. And she smiles. The last image of the film is Louise looking at Hannah. Hannah is sleeping. Louise is holding her. And Louise is not weeping. She is not grieving. She is loving. She is loving the child who will not live. She is loving the moment she knows will end. She is loving the time that is already slipping through her fingers. And the film asks you one final question. It asks you whether you would do the same, whether you would hold your child knowing the ending, whether you would love knowing the loss, whether you would choose to begin knowing the shape of your own ending. Arrival does not give you an answer. It gives you a choice. The same choice it gave Louise. The same choice it gives is every parent, every lover, every human being who has ever known the weight of time. The choice is yours. Louise's transformation is not just intellectual. It is deeply, profoundly emotional. The film understands that language is not a neutral tool. It is a force that reshapes the speaker from the inside out. When Louise learns the heptapod language, she is not just acquiring vocabulary. She is surrendering her old self. She is letting go of the linear, sequential mind that has defined human consciousness for millennia. And what replaces it is something far more fluid, far more terrifying, far more beautiful. She begins to experience time as the heptapods do, not as a river flowing from past to future, but as an ocean where every moment exists simultaneously. This is not a metaphor. The film presents this as a neurological fact. The heptapod language physically rewires the brain. It creates new pathways. It unlocks capacities that humans have never accessed before. And Louise is the first human to undergo this transformation fully. She is the pioneer, the test subject, the sacrifice, the gift. The film draws a direct line between language and consciousness. If you speak a language that has no future tense, do you think about the future differently? If you speak a language that has no word for I, do you experience yourself as separate from others? These are questions that linguists have debated for decades. Arrival takes those debates and pushes them to their logical extreme. What if a language could change not just how you think, but what you perceive? What if it could change your relationship to time itself? The film is not proposing that this is easy. It is proposing that this is possible, and it is proposing that the cost of this possibility is enormous. Louise loses everything. She loses her linear identity. She loses the comfort of not knowing. She loses the illusion of control. But what she gains is something that makes the loss bearable. She gains the ability to see the whole shape of her life. She gains the ability to love without reservation. She gains the ability to accept the ending because she has already seen the beginning. And she gains the ability to live fully in every moment because she knows that every moment is precious. The heptapods are not gods. They are not saviors. They are not enemies. They are teachers, and their teaching method is not gentle. It is not comfortable. It is not designed to make humans feel good about themselves. It is designed to make humans see the truth. And the truth, as Louise discovers, is that time is not the enemy. The enemy is the fear of time. The enemy is the refusal to accept that everything ends. The enemy is the desperate, futile attempt to hold on to things that are already slipping away. When Louise accepts the heptapod gift, she accepts the mortality of everything she loves. She accepts that her daughter will die. She accepts that her marriage will fail. She accepts that she will be alone. And she accepts that this is not a tragedy. It is a life. It is the only life she has. And it is enough. This is where Arrival achieves something that few films even attempt. It asks the audience to sit with the paradox of free will. If Louise can see the future, does she actually have a choice? Or is she simply acting out a script that has already been written? The film does not give a simple answer. It gives a more profound one. Louise's choices are real because she experiences them as real. The fact that she knows the outcome does not make the choosing any less meaningful. If anything, it makes it more meaningful. She chooses Hannah knowing she will lose her. She chooses Ian knowing he will leave. She chooses the grief knowing it will define her. And she does all of this without bitterness, without regret, without the desperate clinging that characterizes most human love. She loves freely because she knows the cost. She loves completely because she knows the ending. She loves without illusion because she has seen everything. And that is the definition of courage. Not blind faith in a happy ending, but clear-eyed acceptance of a tragic one. The film is saying that love is not diminished by knowledge of loss. Love is deepened by it. Love becomes real precisely because it is finite. Consider the scene where Louise looks at Ian and says, "I know why my husband left me." She says it in the present tense, but she is talking about the future. She is looking at the man she is not yet married and telling him that their marriage will end. And she says it without pain, without accusation, without the weight of grief that should accompany such a statement. She says it as a fact, as inevitable as the sunrise, as natural as the movement of the stars. The film is asking you to feel the weight of that acceptance, to understand what it costs to know something and still not try to change it. Louise could change it. She could choose not to have Hannah. She could choose not to marry Ian. She could choose a different path, but she does not, because the path she has seen is not a prison. It is a gift. Every moment of joy is real. Every moment of love is real. Every moment of grief is real. And the grief is not a punishment for the love. The grief is the proof that the love was real. The grief is the shape that love takes when it is complete. The film's structure reinforces this idea relentlessly. The montage at the beginning is also the montage at the end. The first image is the last image. The first emotion is the last emotion. The film circles back on itself like the heptapod language, like the spiral of time, like the shape of a life that has already been lived. Villeneuve is not showing off. He is not being clever. He is being honest. He is saying that the ending is contained contained in the beginning, that the grief is contained in the joy, that the loss is contained in the love, and that to live a full life is to accept all of it, not to fight it, not to change it, but to hold it all in your hands and say yes. Louise holds Hannah. She holds the child she knows she will lose. She holds her, and she loves her, and she accepts the ending that is already written. And the film asks you whether you could do the same, whether you could love without the guarantee of a happy ending, whether you could choose joy knowing that grief is inevitable, whether you could live fully in the present while knowing everything about the future. The question is not theoretical. It is the most practical question a human being can ask. Arrival is a film about parenthood. It is a film about the decision to bring a child into a world that will hurt them. It is a film about the decision to love knowing that loss is inevitable. It is a film about the courage to say yes to life even when you know the cost. Louise knows that Hannah will die. She knows that she will outlive her daughter. She knows that she will sit alone in a house by a lake and look out at a window and remember everything. And she chooses it anyway. Not because she is masochistic, not because she is deluded, because the love is worth the grief. The joy is worth the pain. The life is worth the ending. And the film says that this is not tragic. This is heroic. This is the most heroic thing a human being can do. To love without conditions. To love without guarantees. To love with full knowledge of what is coming and to say, yes, I will do it all. I will love her. I will lose her. I will grieve her. And I will do it all again if I have to. That is what Arrival is really about. The heptapod gift is not just for Louise. It is for all of humanity. But humanity is not ready. The world is fracturing. China is mobilizing. Russia is threatening. The United States is losing control. And the heptapods are watching. They are waiting. They are giving humanity time to make a choice. The choice is not about weapons. It is not about diplomacy. It is about willingness. Are humans willing to change? Are they willing to surrender the linear, sequential, cause and effect thinking that has defined their civilization? Are they willing to accept that time is not what they think it is? The heptapods know the answer. They have always known the answer. The answer is no. Humanity is not ready. Not yet. Not for a long time. But Louise is ready. Louise is the one who will carry the gift forward, the one who will plant the seed, the one who will wait 3,000 years for the harvest. And the heptapods have all the time in the world. Time is not a constraint for them. It is a resource they are willing to spend on humanity, because humanity will be worth it. In 3,000 years, when the language has spread, when the consciousness has shifted, when humans have finally learned to see time the way the heptapods do, that is when humanity will save the heptapods. That is when the circle will close. That is when the gift will be returned. The film's message is clear. We are not ready. We are not ready to see time differently. We are not ready to accept the shape of our own lives. We are not ready to love without guarantees. We are not ready to grieve without bitterness. We are not ready to be Louise. But the film is not despairing. It is hopeful. It is saying that we can become ready, that we can learn, that we can change, that we can evolve. The heptapods are proof of that. They were once like us. They were once linear. They were once trapped in the tyranny of sequence. And they grew. They evolved. They learned to see. And so can we. The film is not a warning. It is an invitation to imagine a different way of being. A way of being that is not afraid of time. A way of being that is not afraid of endings. A way of being that is not afraid of love. Louise accepts the invitation. She says yes. And the film asks you to say yes too. The film's production design whispers what the dialogue cannot say. Look closely at Louise's home, her classroom, and the alien chamber. All three spaces share the same architectural DNA. A white partition wall, a large window dividing the space, the same textured line patterns on the walls. This is not coincidence. This is Villeneuve telling you that Louise's world has already been shaped by the heptapods before she ever meets them. The chamber where she learns their language is pre-conveyed in her everyday life. Her house by the lake, her university lecture hall, the alien vessel, they are the same space in different times. The design is circular, palindromic, like Hannah's name, like the film's structure, like time itself. Vermette and Hott built these visual echoes deliberately, knowing that most audiences would never consciously notice them, but would feel them. The subconscious registers what the conscious misses. And that is exactly how Louise's transformation works. She does not understand what is happening to her, but she feels it. The language is working on her before she knows it is working. The visual language of the film is working on you before you know it is working. That is the mark of a director who trusts his audience more than they trust themselves. Villeneuve is not explaining. He is showing and showing and showing until you cannot unsee it. The palette is restrained. Low saturation, cold blues, muted grays. The world of Arrival is not a world of vibrant color. It is a world of quiet melancholy. Even before the aliens arrive, the film is drenched in grief. The opening shot of Louise's house, the lake, the window, the subdued light, is a portrait of a woman who has already lost everything. But she has not lost it yet. The color grading tells you this before the plot does. The coldness is not just aesthetic. It is emotional. It is the color of mourning. And the film bathes you in it from frame one. Max Richter's On the Nature of Daylight deeply deepens this grief with its elegiac strings. The music is not dramatic. It is not manipulative. It is simply present, a 6-minute juggernaut of wistfulness. The melancholy of the music and the coldness of the color converge to create mourning, not sadness, mourning. The film makes you feel the loss of a child you have not yet met. That is emotional engineering at its most sophisticated, and it is why the ending hits so hard. You have been grieving Hannah since the opening frame. You just did not know it. The heptapods are not here to save us. They are here to teach us how to save ourselves. And the teaching is not in the symbols. It is in the transformation that the symbols produce. Louise does not just learn to speak heptapod. She learns to be heptapod. She learns to see time as they do. She learns to experience past, present, and future simultaneously. And with that gift comes the burden of knowing. She knows that Hannah will die. She knows that Ian will leave. She knows that she will be alone. And she chooses it anyway. This is the film's central argument, that knowledge of the future does not negate free will. It deepens it. Louise is not a puppet. She is not trapped. She is not powerless. She is freer than anyone else in the film because she knows the consequences of her choices and makes them anyway. She exercises her will not in ignorance, but in full awareness. And that is the definition of courage. Not blind hope, but clear-eyed choice. The heptapod language is not merely a communication system. It is a philosophical weapon designed to dismantle the human understanding of reality. When Louise first encounters the symbols, she sees them as drawings, as art, as something beautiful but ultimately inscrutable. What she does not realize is that the symbols are not representing meaning. They are creating meaning. In human language, words point to things. In heptapod language, symbols are things. They are complete thoughts, indivisible and self-contained. This is the fundamental difference. Human language is linear. One word follows another. One sentence follows another. One idea follows another. Heptapod language is holistic. Every symbol contains the entire thought, and the thought contains every symbol. To speak heptapod is to think heptapod, and to think heptapod is to experience time as a simultaneous whole rather than a sequential progression. The implications of this are staggering. If time is simultaneous, then cause and effect are illusions. If cause and effect are illusions, then free will as humans understand it does not exist. But here is the paradox that the film explores with extraordinary sophistication. If free will does not exist, then Louise's choice to have Hannah is not a choice at all. It is an inevitability. She is simply acting out a script that has already been written. Yet Louise experiences her decision as a choice. She feels the weight of it. She feels the responsibility of it. She feels the moral gravity of bringing a child into the world knowing that child will suffer and die. The film is saying that the experience of choice is real even if the metaphysics of choice are an illusion. Louise is not a puppet. She is not a robot. She is a human being making a decision that feels real to her. And the reality of that feeling is what matters, not the philosophical abstraction of whether she could have done otherwise. The film is rejecting the deterministic worldview that would reduce Louise to a marionette. It is embracing the existentialist worldview that says we are condemned to be free. Even if freedom is an illusion, we must live as if it is real. This is where the film's intellectual ambition becomes breathtaking. It is not just a movie about aliens. It is a movie about the nature of consciousness, the structure of time, and the meaning of human freedom. It is a movie that engages with the most profound questions in philosophy, questions that have occupied thinkers from Kant to Heidegger to Sartre, and it does not shy away from the difficulty of those questions. It embraces them. It dramatizes them. It makes them visceral and emotional and urgent. Louise is not a philosopher. She is a linguist, but she is forced to become a philosopher by the circumstances of her life. She is forced to confront questions that most people spend their entire lives avoiding, and she does not run from them. She walks toward them. She walks into the heptapod ship knowing that it will change her forever. She walks into the future knowing that it will break her heart, and she keeps walking. Bradford Young's cinematography is the unsung hero of Arrival. His work on the film is a masterclass in visual storytelling. Every frame is packed with meaning. Every composition tells a story. Every movement of the camera is a statement about the nature of time and memory. Consider the use of shallow focus. In scenes where Louise is in the heptapod ship, the background is often blurred, indistinct, almost dreamlike. This is not a technical limitation. It is a deliberate choice. The ship is not just a physical space. It is a psychological space. It is the space where Louise's mind is being rewired. The shallow focus tells you that the boundaries of her perception are dissolving. The sharp, defined world of the military camp is giving way to something more fluid, more ambiguous, more terrifying. The camera's movements are equally significant. In the early scenes, the camera is static, observational, almost documentary-like. It captures Louise's grief with a clinical detachment. But as the film progresses and Louise's transformation deepens, the camera becomes more fluid, more subjective, more intimate. It drifts. It It floats. It follows her into the future. There is a scene where Louise is walking through her house, and the camera is tracking her from behind, slowly, deliberately, and the walls of the house seem to dissolve into the landscape outside. The boundary between interior and exterior is collapsing. The boundary between past and future is collapsing. The boundary between self and other is collapsing. The camera is showing you what Louise is feeling, the dissolution of the self into something larger, something more terrifying, something more beautiful. The editing is similarly expressive. The film is edited with a rhythmic precision that mirrors Louise's internal experience. In the early scenes, the cuts are clean, logical, sequential. The film is telling a story in the traditional way. But as Louise begins to see the future, the editing becomes more fragmented, more associative, more like memory. The cuts are not motivated by narrative logic. They are motivated by emotional logic. The film cuts from Louise in the ship to Louise holding her daughter, and the cut is not explained. It is just there. The film is trusting you to make the connection. It is trusting you to understand that Louise is not daydreaming. She is remembering. She is remembering something that has not happened yet. The editing is not confusing. It is profound. It is showing you the structure of Louise's mind. It is showing you how time feels when you are no longer trapped in sequence. The use of negative space is also notable. The heptapod ship is black, monolithic, silent. It takes up the center of the frame, and the sky around it is empty. This is not a coincidence. The ship is the center of gravity of the film. Everything revolves around it. Everything is defined by it. Everything is drawn toward it. The negative space around the ship is the void that Louise must cross. The void of the unknown. The void of the future. The void of her daughter's death. She must step into that void and trust that there is something on the other side. And there is. There is everything. There is the whole arc of her life. There is every moment of joy and every moment of grief. There is the love that she will feel and the loss that she will endure. The negative space is not empty. It is full. It is full of everything that Louise cannot yet see but will one day understand. Johan Johansson's score is a character in the film. It is not background music. It is not decoration. It is an active participant in the storytelling, shaping the emotional experience of the audience in ways that are both subtle and profound. The score is built on two simple musical ideas, a rising motif and a falling motif. The rising motif is associated with the heptapods, with the unknown, with the future. It is an ascent, a reaching upward, a seeking outward, a movement towards something that is not yet understood. The falling motif is associated with Louise, with grief, with the past. It is a descent, a sinking downward, a surrender to gravity, an acceptance of loss. The two motifs are intertwined throughout the film, sometimes playing together, sometimes alternating, sometimes clashing. And that interplay is the film's emotional architecture, the rising and the falling, the hope and the grief, the future and the past. They are inseparable. They are one. The use of silence is equally important. There are moments in the film where the score is absent, moments of pure, unadorned sound. The hum of the ship, the rush of the wind, the beating of Louise's heart. These moments of silence are not emptiness. They are intensity. They are the moments when the film is asking you to feel something without the comfort of music. They are the moments when the film is forcing you to sit with the weight of what you are watching. The silence is not a break from the score. It is the score's culmination. It is the point where the music stops and the emotion begins. The final scene of the film is scored with the same music that opened it, Max Richter's On the Nature of Daylight. The music is not triumphant. It is not sad. It is simply present. And that presence is the film's final statement. The grief is not going away. The loss is not going away. The love is not going away. All of it is present. All of it is real. All of it is happening now. The music is the sound of Louise's acceptance. It is the sound of her saying yes to everything. The joy and the grief, the love and the loss, the beginning and the end. The music is not a resolution. It is a continuation. It is the sound of life going on, even when everything is changed, even when everything is ending, even when everything is just beginning. There are details in Arrival that most audiences miss on the first viewing, details that only become visible when you know the ending. And those details are the film's secret architecture. They are the scaffolding that holds the story together. Consider the opening scene. Louise is in her house. The camera is slow, deliberate. The light is cold. The grief is palpable. On the first viewing, this scene seems like a prologue, a glimpse of Louise's past, a memory of her daughter's death. But on the second viewing, you realize it is not a memory. It is a premonition. It is the future. The daughter has not died yet. The grief has not happened yet. But the film shows it to you anyway. It shows it to you in the first 5 minutes. It shows you the ending before you have seen the beginning. And you do not realize it until the film is almost over. This is the most audacious structural choice in any film of the last decade. Villeneuve is showing you the ending at the beginning. He is trusting you to forget it. He is trusting you to be so caught up in the story that you do not notice the frame. And when you finally do notice it, the film is almost almost over, and the impact is devastating. The character names are another hidden detail. Hannah is a palindrome. Her name is the same backward and forward, just like the heptapod language, just like the film's structure, just like time itself. Hannah's name is the key to the entire film. It is a palindrome because time is a palindrome. The future is the past. The beginning is the end. The joy is the grief. Hannah's name is not a coincidence. It is the film's thesis statement, hidden in plain sight. Villeneuve and screenwriter Eric Heiserer have built the entire film around that name. Every scene, every symbol, every moment of music is pointing toward that name, and most audiences never notice. They are too busy watching the aliens. But the aliens are not the point. Hannah is the point. Hannah's name is the point, and the film is the demonstration of that point. The heptapods' names, Abbott and Costello, are a joke, but they are also a clue. Abbott and Costello were comedians famous for the "who's on first" routine. The routine is built on confusion, on misunderstanding, on the failure of communication. The heptapods are named after comedians because they are here to teach humanity a lesson about communication. They are here to show us that our failure to understand each other is not a failure of language. It is a failure of will. It is a failure of empathy. It is a failure of imagination. We can communicate. We choose not to. We choose to assume. We choose to fear. We choose to fight. The heptapods are named Abbott and Costello because they are the opposite of that. They are the embodiment of understanding. They are the embodiment of patience. They are the embodiment of hope. Arrival belongs to a long and distinguished tradition of science fiction that uses aliens as a lens for exploring the human condition. But it is not a typical example of that tradition. Most science fiction films use aliens as metaphors for human fears and desires. The alien as invasion, the alien as seduction, the alien as annihilation. Arrival does something different. It uses aliens as a means of philosophical inquiry. It does not ask, what do the aliens want? It asks, what do we want? It does not ask, what are the aliens doing here? It asks, what are we doing here? The aliens are not the subject of the film. We are the subject of the film. The aliens are just a mirror. They are just a way of showing us who we are. And who we are, according to the film, is a species that is terrified of its own mortality. A species that cannot accept the ending. A species that fights against the future rather than embracing it. The aliens are here to teach us to stop fighting, to accept, to love, to let go. The film has been compared to Contact, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, 2001, A Space Odyssey, and Interstellar. But the comparison that is most revealing is with Solaris. Tarkovsky's film is about a scientist who cannot move on from his grief. It is about the human refusal to accept loss. And it is about the alien planet that mirrors his grief back at him. Arrival is doing the same thing. Louise is trapped in grief. Grief for a future that has not happened yet. Grief for a daughter who has not been born. Grief for a love that has not yet been lost. And the aliens are the mirror. They are showing her the shape of her grief. They are forcing her to see it. And they are offering her a way out. Not a way out of grief. There is no way out of grief. A way through grief. A way of accepting grief as part of life. A way of understanding that grief is not the enemy. Grief is the price of love. And the price is worth paying. The film's quiet intelligence is its power. It does not shout. It does not lecture. It does not explain. It shows. It shows you the grief. It shows you the love. It shows you the joy. It shows you the loss. And it does not tell you how to feel about any of it. It trusts you to feel for yourself. That trust is the film's greatest gift. It treats its audience as intelligent, empathetic, capable of understanding. And that is increasingly rare in science fiction. Arrival is a film that respects its audience. And that respect is repaid by the audience's emotional investment in the story. We care about Louise because the film cares about Louise. We feel her grief because the film feels her grief. And we understand her choice because the film understands her choice. It is a film that believes in the power of empathy. And it is a film that demonstrates that power. The world is saved. The war has been stopped. The heptapods have departed, rising silently into the clouds like prayers answered and questions left hanging. But for Louise, nothing has ended. Everything has just begun. She stands in the observation room, watching the ship disappear. The military officers are celebrating. The generals are congratulating themselves. The politicians are taking credit. And Louise is alone. She is alone with the knowledge of what is coming. She is alone with the future that is already unfolding inside her. The film does not show you her face in this moment. It shows you the ship rising, the ship disappearing, the ship becoming a memory. And the frame holds. It holds for a beat too long. It holds until you understand that the ship is not leaving. It is arriving. It is arriving in Louise's mind. It is becoming part of her. It will never leave her. The heptapod language is now her native tongue. The heptapod consciousness is now her consciousness. And she will carry it with her for the rest of her life. She will carry it through her marriage, through her pregnancy, through her daughter's birth, through her daughter's diagnosis, through her daughter's death. She will carry it to the house by the lake, to the window, to the silence. She will carry it to the end, and she will carry it beyond. The film's transition to the future is seamless, almost invisible. One moment Louise is in the military camp. The next next moment she is in a hospital room, holding her daughter. The cut is not explained. It is not justified. It is simply there. And that is the film's most radical act of trust. It trusts you to understand that Louise is not flashing back. She is not daydreaming. She is not hallucinating. She is experiencing time as it truly is. Past, present, and future are all happening now. They are all present in her mind. And the film presents them to you in the same way. It does not signal the shift. It does not warn you. It simply moves from one moment to another, as if time were a room you could walk through, as if time were a house with many doors. And the film is asking you to walk through those doors with Louise, to experience time as she experiences it, to feel the simultaneity of everything. It is asking you to hold the joy and the grief together in the same moment, without separation. It is asking you to become Louise. And if you have been paying attention, you have already become her. The hospital scene is devastating in its simplicity. Louise holds Hannah. Hannah is small, fragile, impossibly precious. Louise looks at her with an expression that is not quite happiness and not quite sadness. It is something in between. It is the expression of someone who knows exactly what is coming. Someone who has already grieved this moment. Someone who has already mourned the life that is unfolding in her arms. The film does not dwell on this. It does not underline it. It simply shows it. And that is enough, because you already know what Louise knows. You have already seen Hannah's death. You have already seen Louise alone by the lake. You have already felt the weight of the grief that is coming. And now, in this moment, you feel the weight of the joy that is happening. The joy and the grief are one. They are the same emotion. They are the same moment. They are the same life. And Louise holds them both. She holds them together. She does not try to separate them. She does not try to escape the grief. She does not try to pretend the joy is all there is. She holds them both, and she loves them both. This is the moment that defines the film. It is not the aliens. It is not the war. It is not the rescue. It is this moment. A mother holding her child. A mother who knows her child will die. A mother who chooses love anyway. The film is asking you to consider what you would do in that situation. Would you have the courage to love knowing the cost? Would you have the strength to hold your child knowing you will lose them? Would you have the grace to accept the grief as part of the love? Louise does. She does not run. She does not hide. She does not pretend. She loves, and she loves fully, without reservation, without fear, without the desperate clinging that characterizes most human love. She loves freely because she knows the ending. She loves completely because she knows the cost. She loves without illusion because she has seen everything. And that is the definition of courage. Not blind faith in a happy ending, but clear-eyed acceptance of a tragic one. The film's final montage is a gift to the audience. It is the same montage that opened the film, but now you understand it. Now you see the moments differently. You see Hannah's first laugh. You see Hannah's first steps. You see Hannah's diagnosis. You see Hannah's decline. You see Hannah's death. And through all of it, you see Louise. You see her strength. You see her grief. You see her love. You see her acceptance. The montage is not a summary. It is a culmination. It is the film's final argument. Everything is connected. Every moment is part of a single whole. The joy and the grief. The beginning and the end. The love and the loss. They are not separate. They are one. And the film invites you to see that unity. To feel it. To accept it. To embrace it. The final scene of Arrival is one of the most debated and analyzed scenes in contemporary cinema. It is a scene that rewards close attention, that reveals more with each viewing, that continues to resonate long after the credits have rolled. Louise is in her house, the house by the lake, the same house we saw in the opening frame, the same window, the same light, the same grief. But now we understand what we are seeing. We understand that Louise is not alone. She is alone and not alone. She is with her daughter, with her memories, with her future, with her past. She is in all of it, and she is none of it. She is simply present, present in the moment, present in the grief, present in the love. The film does not tell you what to feel. It shows you what is there, and what is there is everything. Everything that has happened and everything that will happen. Everything that Louise has lost and everything she has gained. Everything that matters. The final line of dialogue is spoken by Louise. She says, "If you could see your whole life from start to finish, would you change it?" It is a question she is asking Hannah, but she is also asking herself. She is asking the audience. She is asking anyone who has ever wondered about the shape of their own life. The question is not rhetorical. It is the central question of the film, and Louise does not answer it. She simply sits with it. She holds it. She lets it hang in the air. The film does not give you an answer because there is no answer. There is only the question, and the question is enough. The question is the meaning. The question is the film. The question is the life that Louise has chosen. She knows the ending. She knows the grief. She knows the love, and she would not change it. Not because it is perfect, not because it is painless, because it is hers, because it is real, because it is the only life she has, and it is enough. The visual composition of the final frame is extraordinary. Louise is in the foreground. The window is behind her. The lake is beyond the window. The light is soft, golden, almost ethereal. It is the light of memory, the light of hope, the light of grief. It is the light that connects everything, the past, the present, the future. Louise is bathed in that light. She is not separate from it. She is part of it. She is part of everything. The frame holds. holds. It holds longer than you expect. It holds until you feel it, until you understand that you are not watching a scene. You are experiencing a moment of total presence, a moment of total acceptance, a moment of total love. And then the film ends. The screen goes black. The credits roll, and you are left with the question, would you change it? Would you change the shape of your life? Would you choose to love knowing the cost? The question stays with you. It lingers. It haunts. It changes you. And that is the mark of a great film. Not that it entertains you, but that it transforms you. Ian Donnelly is the film's tragic figure. He is not the protagonist. He is not the hero. He is the one who cannot see. The one who is trapped in the linear, sequential, cause and effect thinking that defines human consciousness. Ian is a brilliant physicist. He understands the universe at a mathematical level. He understands the nature of time as a scientific abstraction, but he cannot feel it. He cannot experience it. He cannot live it. And that is his tragedy. He loves Louise. He truly loves her. He marries her. He fathers her child. He builds a life with her, but he cannot understand her. He cannot understand what she has become. He cannot understand why she does not try to change the future. He cannot understand why she would choose to have a child knowing that the child will die. And so he leaves. He walks away from the woman he loves. He walks away from his daughter. He walks away from his life. Not because he is cruel, because he cannot bear it. He cannot bear the knowledge that Louise carries. He cannot bear the weight of the future. He cannot bear the love that is also grief. The film's depiction of Ian is surprisingly sympathetic. It does not villainize him. It does not judge him. It simply shows him. It shows a man who is not strong enough to love without guarantees. A man who needs the promise of a happy ending. A man who cannot accept that love and loss are inseparable. And he is not alone. Most of us are Ian. Most of us need the illusion of control. Most of us need the comfort of not knowing. Most of us would run from the truth that Louise embraces. The film does not condemn Ian. It understands him. It pities him. It asks you to understand him too. Because the film knows that Ian's weakness is human weakness. It is the same weakness that prevents humanity from communicating with the heptapods. It is the same weakness that leads to war. It is the same weakness that separates us from each other. Ian is not the villain. He is the mirror. He is the reflection of everything we are afraid to become. He is the reflection of everything we are afraid to lose. And the film holds him with compassion. The military in Arrival is not portrayed as evil. It is portrayed as trapped. Trapped in a way of thinking that cannot conceive of peace. Trapped in a way of being that cannot imagine understanding. Colonel Weber is not a villain. He is a man doing his job. A man trying to protect his country. A man trying to make sense of an impossible situation. But his job is the problem. His job is to fight. His job is to win. His job is to ensure that his side survives. And in the world of the film, that is not enough. That is never enough. Because survival is not the goal. Understanding is the goal. Peace is the goal. Connection is the goal. The military cannot see this. They cannot see that their methods are the problem. They cannot see that their language is the barrier. They are speaking in bullets and threats while Louise is speaking in symbols and questions. And the film shows you the difference. It shows you which language creates connection. It shows you which language creates peace. It shows you which language saves the world. The scene where Louise uses the general's wife's dying words to stop the war is the film's most pointed critique of military thinking. The general does not stop the war because he understands Louise. He stops the war because he is moved by love. His love for his wife. His grief for her death. His memory of her final words. That is what changes his mind. Not a strategic argument. Not a tactical calculation. A heart. A heart that still feels. A heart that still grieves. A heart that still loves. And the film is saying that love is the only thing that can stop a war. Love is the only language that the world can understand. Not power. Not force. Not domination. Love. The love of a man for his wife. The love of a woman for her daughter. The love of a species for itself. That is what saves the world. That is what always saves the world. When we remember to love. When we remember that the other is not an enemy, but a reflection of ourselves. The film is a plea for that remembering. A plea for the courage to love even when it is hard. Even when it is costly. Even when it breaks your heart. The heptapod language is the key to everything. It is not just a tool for communication. It is a tool for transformation. It changes the speaker. It rewires the brain. It unlocks capacities that humans have never accessed before. And the film is asking you to consider the implications of that transformation. What would it mean to see time differently? What would it mean to experience the past, present, and future simultaneously? What would it mean to know the shape of your own life? These are not abstract questions. They are the most practical questions a human being can ask. Because the way we experience time determines everything. It determines how we love. It determines how we grieve. It determines how we live. If we could see our lives from start to finish, would we change anything? The film does not answer the question, but it asks it with such force that you cannot ignore it. You cannot dismiss it. You cannot pretend it does not matter. The question is the film. The question is the life. The question is the love. And the answer answer is always the same. It is the answer that Louise gives. It is the answer that the film gives. It is the answer that you must give for yourself. The heptapods are gone. The ships have vanished. The world is returning to normal. But Louise is not returning to normal. She can never return. She has been changed at the deepest level of her being. She sees time differently now. She experiences life differently now. She loves differently now. And the film is asking you to sit with that transformation, to feel what it means, to understand what it costs. Louise is no longer the woman who walked into the military camp. She is something else, something new, something that has never existed before. She is the first human to fully inhabit the heptapod consciousness, the first human to see time as the heptapods see it, the first human to know the shape of her own life from beginning to end. And that knowledge is both a gift and a burden. It is a gift because it frees her from the tyranny of uncertainty. She does not have to wonder what will happen. She knows. She knows everything. And she knows that everything is connected. Every moment, every choice, every joy, every grief, they are all part of a single whole. A whole that is beautiful and terrible and complete. But it is also a burden, because knowing the future does not make it easier to live. It makes it harder. Louise knows that Hannah will die. She knows that Ian will leave. She knows that she will be alone, and she cannot change any of it. She cannot stop it. She cannot prevent it. She can only accept it. And acceptance is not easy. It is not passive. It is not resignation. It is the hardest thing a human being can do. It is the act of saying yes to everything, to the joy and the grief, to the love and the loss, to the beginning and the end. It is the act of embracing the whole arc of your life without flinching, without running, without pretending. It is the act of looking at the future and saying, yes, I will do all of it. I will love. I will lose. I will grieve. I will hope. I will despair. I will live. I will die. And I will do it all again if I have to. That is what Louise does. That is what the film asks you to do. And that is why the film is so profound. It is not about aliens. It is about you. It is about your life. It is about your choices. It is about your courage. The film's structure mirrors this philosophy. The circular narrative, the palindromic name, the recurring imagery, the repetition of scenes, the echo of music. Everything in the film is connected. Everything is part of a single whole. And the film is asking you to see that connection, to feel it, to understand it, to live it. The heptapod language is not just a language. It is a way of being, a way of experiencing the world, a way of relating to time. And the film is inviting you to learn that language. Not the symbols, not the grammar, the consciousness that sees time as a circle rather than a line, the consciousness that holds all moments together, the consciousness that knows that the ending is contained in the beginning. The film is an invitation to transformation. It is a call to awaken. It is a plea to see the world differently. The psychological transformation of Louise Banks is one of the most detailed and believable character arcs in modern cinema. The film does not rush it. It does not simplify it. It does not reduce it to a montage. It shows the transformation happening slowly, incrementally, painfully. Louise resists the change at first. She does not want to see the future. She does not want to know the ending. She wants to live in the comfortable illusion of not knowing. But the language is working on her. It is rewiring her brain. It is changing her consciousness, and she cannot stop it. She can only surrender to it. The film shows this surrender through a series of small, almost imperceptible moments. A look, a pause, a hesitation, a flash of recognition, a tear that she does not understand. These moments accumulate. They build. They create a portrait of a woman who is becoming someone else. Someone who can hold the grief and the joy together without falling apart. Someone who can love without guarantees. Someone who can accept without resistance. The film's portrayal of trauma and grief is remarkably sophisticated. Louise is not just sad. She is transformed by her grief. The grief does not end when the film ends. It continues. It deepens. It becomes part of her. But it does not destroy her. It strengthens her. It makes her more compassionate, more empathetic, more human. The film is saying that grief is not an obstacle to happiness. It is a path to happiness, a path to understanding, a path to love. You cannot love without grieving. You cannot live without losing. You cannot be human without accepting the cost of being human. Louise accepts the cost. She accepts it fully. And that acceptance is the source of her strength. It is the source of her courage. It is the source of her peace. The film is a meditation on grief, a meditation on the beauty and the pain of being human, a meditation on the courage it takes to love knowing the ending. The visual language of Arrival is as sophisticated as its philosophical content. Villeneuve uses every tool of cinema to tell the story. The framing, the lighting, the color palette, the camera movement, the editing, the sound design. Every element is carefully chosen. Every element contributes to the film's meaning. The film is not just a story. It is a visual poem, a symphony of images and sounds that work together to create an emotional experience that transcends language. The film is saying that cinema is itself a language that can communicate what words cannot, a language that can make you feel what you cannot explain, a language that can change the way you see the world. The heptapod language is the film's central metaphor, a language that is not sequential, a language that is holistic, a language that that communicates through images rather than words. And the film itself is that language. It is a language that speaks directly to your unconscious. A language that bypasses the rational mind and speaks to the heart. The use of symmetry in the film is particularly notable. The opening frame and the closing frame are identical. The house, the window, the lake, the light. The symmetry is not accidental. It is deliberate. It is the film saying that the beginning and the end are the same. That time is a circle, that the ending is contained in the beginning. The symmetry is also present in the character names. Hannah, a palindrome, the same forward and backward, the same as the film's structure, the same as time itself. The film is a palindrome. It begins with the ending and ends with the beginning. It is a circle, a spiral, a wheel, and the film invites you to step into that wheel, to experience time as Louise experiences it, to see the shape of the whole, to understand that everything is connected. Arrival is not a film that emerged from nowhere. It has deep philosophical roots. It draws on ideas from linguistics, cognitive science, philosophy of mind, and existentialism. The film's central idea, that language shapes consciousness, is derived from the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, a theory in linguistics that suggests that the structure of a language affects the cognition of its speakers. The film takes this hypothesis to its logical extreme. It imagines a language so alien that it fundamentally changes the perception of reality. It imagines a language that allows its speakers to experience time differently. It imagines a language that rewires the brain. This is not science fiction. It is science. It is a speculation about the nature of human cognition, a speculation that is grounded in real research and real theory. The film also draws on existentialist philosophy. Louise's choice to have Hannah despite knowing her fate is a classic existentialist dilemma. It is the choice to live authentically, to accept the conditions of existence without illusion, to embrace the tragedy of being human. The film is not offering a solution. It is offering a choice, the same choice that existentialist philosophers have been offering for centuries, the choice to live with courage, to live with integrity, to live with love. The film is not didactic. It is not prescriptive. It is reflective. It asks you to consider your own choices, your own life, your own love, your own grief. It asks you to be honest with yourself, to be honest about the shape of your life, to be honest about the ending that is coming, and to ask yourself whether you would change it. The emotional impact of Arrival is not accidental. It is engineered. Villeneuve and his team built the film to evoke a specific emotional response. The score, the cinematography, the editing, the performances, every element is calibrated to create maximum emotional impact. The film is not manipulative. It is honest. It is truthful. It earns every tear. It earns every moment of joy. It earns every moment of grief. The film does not make you feel sad because it shows you something sad. It makes you feel sad because it shows you something true, something about the nature of love, something about the nature of loss, something about the nature of being human. The sadness of the film is not a cheap trick. It is a reflection of the real sadness of existence, the real grief that we all carry, the real love that we all feel, the real loss that we all fear. The film is a mirror that shows you your own life, your own grief, your own love, your own courage. The film's ability to make you cry is not a measure of its quality, but its ability to make you cry and then make you feel hope is. The film does not leave you in despair. It leaves you with the hope that love is worth the loss, with the hope that grief is not the end, with the hope that the circle will close. The hope is not naive. It is not sentimental. It is earned. It is earned by the honesty of the film, by the courage of Louise, by the truth of the story. The film is a testament to the power of love, a love that is not weakened by grief, a love that is strengthened by it, a love that is made more real by the knowledge of loss. The film is a love story, not a romantic love story, a love story about life, about the courage to love knowing the cost, about the strength to grieve knowing the joy, about the wisdom to accept knowing the pain. The film's ending is not an ending. It is a beginning that contains the ending, a beginning that is the ending. The circularity of the film is not a gimmick. It is a philosophy. It is a way of seeing the world. It is a way of understanding time. Louise's choice to have Hannah is not a decision made in ignorance. It is a decision made in full knowledge of the grief, full knowledge of the loss, full knowledge of the loneliness that will follow. And she chooses anyway. She chooses love. She chooses life. She chooses the whole arc of existence, not because it is easy, because it is real, because it is hers, because it is the only life she has, and because it is enough. The film asks you whether your life is enough, whether your love is enough, whether your courage is enough. The answer is not in the film. The answer is in you. The film's treatment of time is its most radical element. It does not just present time as a narrative device. It presents time as a philosophical problem, a problem that has occupied thinkers for millennia. What is time? Is it linear? Is it cyclical? Is it an illusion? Is it the fundamental structure of reality? The film does not answer these questions. It asks them. It asks them with such force that you cannot ignore them. The heptapods experience time differently. They see past, present, and future as a single whole. They do not experience experience sequence. They experience simultaneity. This is not science fiction. It is speculation. Speculation about the nature of consciousness. Speculation about the limits of human perception. Speculation about what it would mean to see time as it truly is. The film draws on real physics. Einstein's theory of relativity suggests that time is not absolute. It is relative. It depends on the observer. Different observers experience time differently. The heptapods are not magical. They are not supernatural. They simply perceive time differently. They have evolved to see what humans cannot see. They have evolved to experience reality in a way that humans cannot experience it. The film is not asking you to believe in time travel. It is asking you to believe in the possibility of different perceptions, different ways of being, different ways of understanding. The heptapods are not superior to humans. They are just different. Different consciousness, different perception, different experience. The film is a meditation on difference, on the possibility of understanding what is different, on the possibility of learning from what is different, on the possibility of becoming different. Arrival is not just a philosophical film. It is a political film, a film about international relations, about conflict, about peace, about the possibility of understanding between enemies. The 12 ships are not just a plot device. They are a geopolitical statement, a statement about the nature of global politics. The world is divided. Nations are competing. Everyone is afraid. Everyone is suspicious. Everyone is preparing for war. And the heptapods are the catalyst that forces humanity to confront its divisions, to confront its fears, to confront its failure to communicate. The film is a plea for international cooperation, a plea for understanding, a plea for peace. It is not naive. It is not sentimental. It is urgent. It is necessary. It is a warning about what happens when we refuse to listen to each other. The film's depiction of China is notable. China is not the villain. China is a nation with its own fears, its own concerns, its own perspective. The film does not demonize China. It understands China. It shows China as a nation that is trying to protect itself, a nation that is responding to a perceived threat, a nation that is acting in what it believes to be its own interest. The film is not anti-China. It is anti-misunderstanding, anti-assumption, anti-fear. The film's message is universal. It applies to all nations, all conflicts, all divisions. The film is saying that the enemy is not the other. The enemy is the failure to understand the other. The enemy is the refusal to listen. The enemy is the assumption that the other is a threat. Louise breaks through that assumption. She communicates. She listens. She understands. And that is what saves the world. Eric Heiser's screenplay for Arrival is a work of extraordinary craft. It is a screenplay that understands the power of structure, the power of pacing, the power of revelation. Heiser does not reveal the film's secret too early. He holds it. He holds it until the right moment, until the moment when it will have the most impact. And then he reveals it. He reveals it with precision, with control, with power. The screenplay is a masterclass in narrative construction, a masterclass in emotional engineering, a masterclass in the art of storytelling. Heiser's adaptation of Ted Chiang's short story Story of Your Life is a work of genius. Chiang's story is brilliant. It is philosophical. It is intellectual, but it is also abstract. It is a thought experiment, a meditation on the nature of time and language. Heiser transforms that thought experiment into a film with characters, with emotion, with stakes. Heiser does not betray the story. He enriches it. He deepens it. He makes it accessible. He makes it emotional. He makes it human. The screenplay is not a translation. It is a transformation that honors the source material while creating something new, something original, something powerful, something that stands on its own. The dialogue in the screenplay is notable for its economy. Heiser does not waste words. He does not explain. He does not over-explain. He trusts the audience. He trusts them to understand. He trusts them to feel. The dialogue is sparse. It is direct. It is honest, but it is also powerful. It carries weight. It carries meaning. It carries emotion. The scene where Louise says, "I know why my husband left me," is one of the most powerful moments in the film. It is a single line, a single sentence, but it carries the weight of the entire film, the weight of Louise's knowledge, the weight of her grief, the weight of her love. Heiser wrote that line. He wrote it with care, with precision, with power, and it changed cinema. Johann Johansson's score for Arrival is one of the great film scores of the 21st century. It is a score that understands the emotional landscape of the film, a score that understands the grief, the love, the hope, the fear. Johansson uses the orchestra with extraordinary restraint. He does not overwhelm. He does not dominate. He supports. He underlines. He deepens. The score is not separate from the film. It is part of the film. It is the emotional architecture of the film. It is the soul of the film. The use of vocal elements in the score is particularly notable. Johansson uses voices in the score, not words. Voices, sounds, textures. The voices are otherworldly. They are strange. They are beautiful. They are the sound of the heptapods, the sound of their language, the sound of their consciousness. The voices do not sing. They do not speak. They simply exist. They are the presence of something other, something alien, something that cannot be understood but can be felt. The voices are are the emotional connection to the heptapods, the connection that Louise feels, the connection that the audience feels, the connection that transcends language. The voices are the film's soul. The absence of a traditional theme is also significant. Johansson does not give the film a melody, a recognizable theme, a leitmotif. He gives it textures, atmospheres, emotions. The score is not a collection of tunes. It is a collection of feelings, feelings that shift and evolve with the film. The score is not a soundtrack. It is an experience, an emotional experience, a spiritual experience. The score is the film's emotional memory, the memory of everything that has happened, the memory of everything that will happen, the memory of everything that matters. Johansson's score is a masterpiece of subtlety, a masterpiece of emotion, a masterpiece of cinema. The production design of Arrival is a work of extraordinary imagination. The heptapod ship is a masterpiece of design. It is black. It is monolithic. It is mysterious. It does not look like anything humans have built. It does not look like anything humans have imagined. It is alien. It is other. It is the embodiment of the unknown. The ship is not a vehicle. It is a presence that dominates the landscape, a presence that dominates the film, a presence that cannot be ignored. The design of the ship is not just aesthetic. It is narrative. It is philosophical. It is the film's argument made visual. The ship is the unknown that humanity must confront, the unknown that humanity must understand, the unknown that humanity must embrace. The heptapod language is also a triumph of design. The symbols are beautiful. They are intricate. They are circular. They are the embodiment of the film's philosophy. The symbols are not just words. They are ideas. They are thoughts. They are the shape of consciousness. The design of the language is not just visual. It is conceptual. It is the film's argument made tangible. The language is the film's message. The message that time is a circle, that everything is connected, that love is worth the cost. The language is the film's soul, the soul of the heptapods, the soul of Louise, the soul of the film. The legacy of Arrival extends far beyond its runtime. It is a film that has changed the way audiences think about science fiction, about cinema, about time, about love. It is a film that has inspired countless discussions, analyses, and interpretations. It is a film that rewards repeated viewing, a film that reveals new layers with each watch, a film that continues to resonate long after the credits have rolled. The film's influence can be seen in the work of other directors, in the themes they explore, in the structures they employ, in the emotions they evoke. Arrival has become a touchstone, a reference point, a standard by which other science fiction films are measured. It is a film that has earned its place in the canon, a film that will be studied and celebrated for generations to come. The ending of Arrival is one of the most debated in modern cinema. What does it mean? Is Louise trapped in a deterministic universe? Is she exercising free will? Is she making a choice or simply following a script? The film does not give a simple answer. It gives a complex one, a nuanced one, a human one. The ending is not about aliens. It is about Louise, about her courage, about her love, about her acceptance. She knows the future. She knows the grief. She knows the loss. And she chooses anyway. She chooses love. She chooses life. She chooses the whole arc of existence. The ending is not a tragedy. It is a triumph of the human spirit, a triumph of love over fear, a triumph of acceptance over resistance. The film's final line, "If you could see your whole life from start to finish, would you change it?" is the key to understanding the ending. The question is not rhetorical. It is existential. It is the question that Louise has been asking herself throughout the film. It is the question that the film asks you. The answer is not in the film. The answer is in you. Would you change your life? Would you choose differently? Would you love differently? Would you grieve differently? The film does not tell you what to think. It asks you to think. It asks you to feel. It asks you to decide. That is the power of the ending. It is not a conclusion. It is a beginning of your own reflection, your own contemplation, your own choice. The interpretation that Louise is a victim of fate is a misreading of the film. She is not a victim. She is a hero. She is a hero because she chooses. She chooses knowingly. She chooses freely. She chooses with full awareness of the consequences. The fact that the future is fixed does not mean that her choices are meaningless. It means that her choices are meaningful. They are the choices that define her life. They are the choices that make her who she is. The film is not deterministic. It is existentialist. It is saying that we are our choices, that our lives are defined by the decisions we make, that our courage is measured by our willingness to choose. Louise chooses. She chooses courage. She chooses love. She chooses life. And that is the meaning of the ending. Ted Chiang's Story of Your Life is a masterpiece of science fiction. It is a story that explores the nature of time, language, and consciousness with extraordinary intellectual rigor. It is a story that rewards careful reading, a story that reveals new depths with each rereading, a story that is as much philosophy as fiction. Heizer's adaptation is faithful to the spirit of Chiang's story while transforming it into something new, something cinematic, something emotional, something that could not exist in any other medium. The adaptation is a work of translation, a translation from one language to another, from the language language of prose to the language of cinema, and it is a translation that honors the original while creating something original. The differences between the story and the film are revealing. In the story, the focus is on the intellectual transformation of the protagonist. The emotional arc is present but subdued. In the film, the emotional arc is foreground. The grief, the love, the loss. The film is more emotional, more visceral, more immediate. It is not a betrayal of the story. It is an enhancement that makes the story accessible to a wider audience. An enhancement that makes the story more powerful, more moving, more human. The film is not a replacement for the story. It is a companion that enriches the story, a companion that deepens the story, a companion that makes the story more alive. Chiang's story ends with a similar question, a question about the nature of choice, a question about the meaning of life. The film expands that question. It gives it more weight, more resonance, more power. The film is not a copy. It is a transformation that honors the source material while creating something new, something that stands on its own, something that is worthy of the story that inspired it. The film and the story are two versions of the same idea, two interpretations of the same question, two expressions of the same truth. They are not in competition. They are in conversation, a conversation that enriches both. Arrival is a pivotal film in the career of Denis Villeneuve. It is the film that established him as a major director, a director with a distinctive vision, a director with a unique voice, a director who is not afraid to tackle difficult subjects, not afraid to ask difficult questions, not afraid to challenge his audience. Villeneuve's career is marked by a commitment to serious cinema, cinema that is thoughtful, cinema that is emotional, cinema that is profound. Arrival is a perfect example of that commitment. It is a film that is intellectually rigorous, emotionally powerful, visually stunning. It is a film that could only have been made by Villeneuve, a film that bears his unmistakable signature. Villeneuve's other films, Prisoners, Sicario, Blade Runner 2049, Dune, share thematic concerns with Arrival. They are films about the limits of human understanding, films about the nature of identity, films about the cost of violence, films about the possibility of redemption. Arrival is the most philosophical of his films, the most reflective, the most contemplative. It is a film that is not afraid to pause, not afraid to be quiet, not afraid to be still. Villeneuve's confidence as a director is evident in the film. He does not rush. He does not explain. He trusts the audience. He trusts them to follow, to feel, to understand. That trust is the mark of a great director, a director who respects his audience, a director who believes in the power of cinema. The visual style of Arrival is distinctively Villeneuve. The wide shots, the slow camera movements, the restrained color palette, the use of negative space, the emphasis on atmosphere over action. These are the hallmarks of Villeneuve's style. They are present in all of his films, but they are most fully realized in Arrival. The film is a visual poem, a poem of light and shadow, a poem of silence and sound, a poem of emotion and intellect. Villeneuve has created a film that is both beautiful and meaningful, both accessible and profound, both entertaining and challenging. It is a film that represents the best of what cinema can be, and it is a film that will be remembered as one of Villeneuve's greatest achievements. Arrival was released in 2016 to widespread critical acclaim. It was praised for its intelligence, its emotional depth, and its visual beauty. It was nominated for 8 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Adapted Screenplay. It won the Oscar for Best Sound Editing. The film was also a commercial success, grossing over $200 million worldwide on a budget of $47 million. It was a rare example of a film that was both critically acclaimed and commercially successful, a film that appealed to audiences and critics alike, a film that transcended the boundaries of genre. The film's legacy is still being written. It has already become a touchstone for discussions about science fiction, about time, about language, about love. It is a film that is studied in universities, discussed in film clubs, analyzed in essays. It is a film that has entered the cultural consciousness, a film that has inspired other filmmakers, other artists, other thinkers. The film's influence can be seen in the work of other directors, in the themes they explore, in the structures they employ, in the emotions they evoke. Arrival has become a benchmark for what science fiction can achieve, a benchmark for what cinema can achieve, a benchmark for what art can achieve. The film's reception is a testament to its power. It is a film that resonates with audiences on a deep level, a film that makes them think, a film that makes them feel, a film that changes them. The film is not just entertainment. It is an experience that stays with you long after you have left the theater, an experience that continues to unfold in your mind, an experience that invites you to reflect on your own life, your own choices, your own love, your own grief. Arrival is a film that matters, a film that will continue to matter, a film that will continue to be discovered by new audiences, a film that will continue to inspire new interpretations, a film that will continue to be a vital part of the cinematic canon. The sound design of Arrival is a work of extraordinary craft. It is a sound design that understands understands the power of silence, the power of sound, the power of atmosphere. The film's soundscape is as important as its visuals. It is the emotional architecture of the film. The sound of the heptapod ship is a masterpiece of design. It is not a sound that humans have heard before. It is alien. It is other. It is the sound of the unknown. The sound is low. It is resonant. It is unsettling. It is the sound of something that cannot be understood, something that can only be felt. The sound of the ship is the sound of Louise's transformation, the sound of her mind being rewired, the sound of her consciousness expanding. The use of silence in the film is equally significant. There are moments of total silence, moments when the film stops, moments when the audience is forced to sit with what they have just seen. Silence is not emptiness. It is intensity. It is the moment when the film is asking you to feel, to reflect, to understand. Silence is the film's most powerful tool. It is the tool that forces you to engage with the film, to engage with the emotions, to engage with the ideas. The silence is not a break from the sound. It is the sound's culmination. It is the point where the sound stops and the emotion begins. The sound of the heptapod language is also notable. It is not speech. It is not music. It is something in between, something that cannot be categorized. The sound is the language of consciousness, the language of thought, the language of time. The sound is not just a design choice. It is a philosophical statement, a statement about the nature of communication, the nature of understanding, the nature of being. The sound of the heptapod language is the sound of the film's soul. Bradford Young's cinematography is one of the film's greatest assets. It is a cinematography that understands the power of light, the power of shadow, the power of composition. Young's work on Arrival is a masterclass in visual storytelling. He uses light to create mood, to create emotion, to create meaning. The film's color palette is restrained, muted, almost monochromatic. It is the palette of grief, the palette of memory, the palette of time. The colors are not bright. They are not vibrant. They are subdued. They are the colors of a world that is waiting, waiting for something to change, waiting for something to begin, waiting for something to end. Young's use of shallow focus is a signature element of the film. In scenes where Louise is in the heptapod ship, the background is often blurred, indistinct, almost dreamlike. This is not a technical limitation. It is a deliberate choice. The ship is not just a physical space. It is a psychological space. The shallow focus tells you that the boundaries of Louise's perception are dissolving. The sharp, defined world of the military camp is giving way to something more fluid, more ambiguous, more terrifying. The shallow focus is the visual equivalent of Louise's transformation, the dissolution of the self, the dissolution of the known, the dissolution of time. Young's use of long takes is also notable. The film's opening scene is a single long take, a take that lingers, a take that holds, a take that forces you to sit with the grief. The take is not a show of technique. It is a statement about the nature of time, about the nature of grief, about the nature of memory. The long take is the film's argument made visual. Time is not a series of cuts. It is a continuous flow, a flow that carries everything with it. The long take is the film's philosophy in action, a philosophy of continuity, a philosophy of connection, a philosophy of wholeness. Jeremy Renner's performance as Ian Donnelly is often overlooked. It is a performance of subtlety and restraint, a performance that grounds the film in humanity. Renner does not compete with Adams. He supports her. He complements her. He is the counterpoint to her transformation. He is the human who cannot see, the human who cannot understand, the human who cannot accept. Renner plays Ian with warmth, with intelligence, with vulnerability. He is not a villain. He is not a hero. He is a man who is trying to do his best, a man who is trying to understand, a man who is failing. Renner's performance is the film's anchor, the anchor that prevents the film from floating away into abstraction, the anchor that keeps the film grounded in the human. The scene where Ian and Louise first meet is a masterclass in character introduction. Renner plays Ian as charming, confident, intelligent, but also naive. He believes in science. He believes in objectivity. He believes in the power of reason. He does not yet understand that reason is not enough, that love is not rational, that grief is not logical, that time is not linear. Renner's performance in this scene sets up his entire arc. He is the man who will learn that the universe is not what he thought it was, the man who will learn that his science is not enough, the man who will learn that he cannot control the world. Renner plays this arc with subtlety, with restraint, with humanity. The scene where Ian leaves Louise is one of the film's most heartbreaking moments. Renner plays it with devastation. He is not angry. He is not cruel. He is broken. He has learned the truth. He has learned that Louise knew that Hannah would die, knew that he would leave, knew everything, and he cannot bear it. He cannot bear the weight of the knowledge. He cannot bear the weight of the choice. He cannot bear the weight of the love. Renner plays this scene with extraordinary vulnerability. He is not the hero. He is not the villain. He is a man who is not strong enough, a man who is not brave enough, a man who is not wise enough. Renner's performance is a reminder that not all heroes are the ones who stay. Some heroes are the ones who have to leave, and they are the most tragic of all. The film's use of flashbacks and flash forwards is one of its most distinctive features. The film does not distinguish between past, present, and future. They are all presented as equally real, equally present, equally immediate. This is not a narrative gimmick. It is a philosophical statement, a statement about the nature of time. The film is saying that time is not what we think it is, that past, present, and future are not separate, that they are all happening now. The film's structure is a demonstration of its philosophy, a demonstration of what it would mean to experience time differently. The structure is not confusing. It is revelatory. It is the film's argument made narrative. The first time we see Hannah, we do not know it is the future. The film does not announce the shift. It simply shows the moment. It shows Louise with her daughter. It shows the grief, the love, the loss. And it is only later that we understand what we have seen, that we have seen the ending before the beginning, that we have experienced the grief before the love, that we have felt the loss before the joy. The film is asking you to experience time as Louise experiences it, to feel the simultaneity of everything, to hold the grief and the joy together. The structure is not a puzzle. It is an invitation to see the world differently, an invitation to feel the world differently, an invitation to live the world differently. The film's use of repetition is also significant. The opening scene is repeated at the end. The same images, the same emotions, the same grief. But now we understand them. Now we see them differently. The repetition is not redundancy. It is revelation. It is the film saying that the first time you see something, you do not understand it. You need to see it again. You need to experience it again. You need to feel it again. That is how knowledge works. That is how understanding works. That is how love works. You do not understand love the first time. You need to experience it again and again and again until it becomes part of you, until it becomes who you are. The repetition is the film's most profound statement, a statement about the nature of understanding, a statement about the nature of love, a statement about the nature of life. We are approaching the end of this journey. The film has shown us everything: the grief, the love, the loss, the hope, the courage, the acceptance, and now it asks us to sit with all of it, to hold it all together, to understand that the joy and the grief are not separate, that they are one, that they are the same moment, the same life, the same love. Louise has shown us what it means to love without guarantees, to love without conditions, to love with full knowledge of the cost, and she has shown us that it is worth it. That love is always worth it. That love is the only thing that matters. That love is the only thing that lasts. The film is not a tragedy. It is a celebration of love, a celebration of life, a celebration of the courage to say yes to everything. Arrival is a film of extraordinary achievement. It works on every level. The story is compelling. The characters are believable. The direction is masterful. The performances are outstanding. The score is haunting. The visuals are stunning. The themes are profound. It is a film that achieves everything it sets out to achieve, and it achieves it with grace, with intelligence, and with heart. The film's greatest achievement is its emotional impact. It makes you feel. It makes you think. It makes you reflect. It makes you question. It makes you hope. It makes you grieve. It makes you love. It is a film that transforms you, a film that changes you, a film that stays with you long after the credits have rolled. But no film is perfect. Arrival has its weaknesses. The most significant weakness is the pacing in the middle section. The film's second act loses some urgency as it delves into the mechanics of the heptapod language. The montages of translation, while essential to the plot, can feel repetitive. The film could have benefited from a tighter edit in this section, a more dynamic presentation of the learning process. The repetition is intentional. It mirrors Louise's own experience of learning, but it does not always translate into compelling cinema. The pacing issue is not fatal. It does not ruin the film, but it is a weakness, a specific, argued weakness that prevents the film from achieving absolute perfection. The film's portrayal of the military is also somewhat one-dimensional. Colonel Weber is a functional character. He serves the plot. He creates conflict. He represents the military perspective, but he is not a fully realized character. He does not have an arc. He does not have a transformation. He is the same person at the end of the film as he was at the beginning. This is a missed opportunity. The film could have shown the military learning, could have shown the military changing, could have shown the military understanding, but it does not. It keeps the military as the opposition, the obstacle, the force that must be overcome. This is a weakness, a missed opportunity for greater complexity and nuance. The film's ending, while emotionally devastating, is also somewhat ambiguous. The ambiguity is intentional. It is part of the film's philosophy, but it also leaves some audiences frustrated. They want a clear answer, a definitive conclusion, a resolution that ties everything together. The film does not give them that. It gives them a question that they must answer for themselves. This is not a weakness for everyone. For some, it is the film's greatest strength, but it is a weakness for those who prefer clarity over ambiguity. For those who want the film to tell them what to think, the film refuses to do that, and that refusal is both its strength and its limitation. Arrival is a film for anyone who has ever loved, anyone who has ever grieved, anyone who has ever wondered about the shape of their life. It is a film for those who are not afraid to think, for those who are not afraid to feel, for those who are not afraid to question. It is a film for those who believe believe in the power of empathy, the power of understanding, the power of connection. It is a film for those who are willing to sit with ambiguity, to sit with uncertainty, to sit with the questions that do not have easy answers. It is a film for those who are not looking for escape, who are looking for reflection, who are looking for truth. The film will particularly resonate with viewers who appreciated Interstellar, Contact, or 2001: A Space Odyssey. These are films that explore the nature of time, the limits of human understanding, and the possibility of connection with something beyond ourselves. Arrival belongs to that tradition. It is a worthy successor to those films, a film that engages with the same questions, the same themes, the same hopes, the same fears. It is a film for those who are drawn to stories about the human condition, stories about love, stories about loss, stories about the courage to go on. The film is also for those who are interested in linguistics, in cognitive science, in the philosophy of mind. The film engages with these disciplines in a serious and sophisticated way. It does not dumb down its ideas. It does not simplify its concepts. It trusts the audience to keep up, to understand, to engage. This is a film for those who appreciate intellectual rigor, who appreciate complexity, who appreciate the challenge of grappling with big ideas. It is a film that rewards attention, that rewards thought, that rewards reflection. It is a film that demands something from its audience, and it gives back more than it demands. The final line of the film is a question. If you could see your whole life from start to finish, would you change it? The question is not answered. It is left hanging. It is left for you to answer. The question is the film's gift to you, a gift that invites you to reflect on your own life, your own choices, your own love, your own grief. The question is not a challenge. It is an invitation to be honest with yourself, to be honest about what matters, to be honest about what you would change, and to be honest about what you would not. The question is also the film's final act of trust. It trusts you to answer it honestly. It trusts you to sit with it, to feel it, to let it change you. The film does not tell you what to think. It asks you to think. It asks you to feel. It asks you to choose. That is the film's final gift, a gift of agency, a gift of reflection, a gift of meaning. The film is not a conclusion. It is a beginning of your own journey, your own reflection, your own life. The image that stays with us is Louise holding Hannah. Louise looking at her daughter with love, with grief, with acceptance. She is not trying to change the future. She is not trying to escape the pain. She is simply present in the moment, present in the love, present in the grief. That image is the film's final statement, a statement about the power of love, a statement about the power of presence, a statement about the power of acceptance. The film is asking you to hold your own life with that same love, that same presence, that same acceptance. It is asking you to say yes to everything, the joy and the grief, the love and the loss, the beginning and the end. It is asking you to love without guarantees, to love without conditions, to love with full knowledge of the cost, and to love anyway. The film ends where it began. Louise holds Hannah. She looks at her daughter with love, with grief, with acceptance. The circle is complete. The beginning is the end. The end is the beginning. And Louise has made her choice. She has chosen love. She has chosen life. She has chosen the whole arc of existence. Not because it is easy, because it is real, because it is hers, because it is the only life she has, and because it is enough. Arrival is a film about the courage to love knowing the ending, the courage to hold the grief and the joy together, the courage to say yes to everything. The film does not give us answers. It gives us a question that we must answer for ourselves. If you could see your whole life from start to finish, would you change it? The question is not a challenge. It is an invitation to love without guarantees, to love without conditions, to love with full knowledge of the cost, and to love anyway.